Let's go to Eric in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia, in KL. And Eric says, how do I break bad habits to start good ones? Okay, so we're going to probably have to do an entire bubble talk on breaking bad habits. But the one thing you have to know that habits are broken into three parts. Cues. Cues are things that trigger you. They trigger you to do the routine. The second thing is routine. Like for instance, you have a cue that triggers you to do the routine. And then at the end of the routine, there's some type of reward you get. So there's three parts: cues, routines, and rewards. Now, one thing you need to know is routines are automatic. So don't try to change the routine. That's not going to help you with breaking bad habits. What has to change is you have to do the first and the last part, because routine is automatic. So cues. So cues are, let me give you an example of people who smoke. So let's say people smoke because of stress. So the cue is stress. And when I get stress, I automatically go to smoke. And when I smoke, what happens? The reward is I get a buzz or a high from smoking. It could be drugs too, whatever it is, right? So what happens is whenever you get what you want to do is you want to break them. But when you have the cue, you want to put another routine in. But the most important part is the reward you put at the end. And some people say, if you like chocolate, make this new habit by wanting to do something, doing it, and then at the end of it, every time, you know what you do? You eat chocolate. And that's your reward. And what happens is your brain looks at that and says, ooh, we should remember this. And it becomes a habit when your brain keeps remembering, wow, every time this person goes on a 10K run, they come back and they get chocolate. Then your brain remembers it, and every time you get a cue, you're going to go out and you're going to start running. Okay, so breaking these bad habits, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I just showed you how to make a good habit. Okay, Eric, we're going to do this one as an actual bubble talk in the future. But remember, there's three parts: cues, routines, and rewards. We'll talk about this one at another time. It's a great question. All right, Jesse in Penang. Jesse in Penang says, how do I know if my planning is the right one for me? In all honesty, unless, for instance, those of you who have faith, unless God comes down to you and says, that is right, you're not going to know whether it's right or wrong. Just plain and simple is no one's going to sit there and say you're 100% this or 100% that. You just don't know. There are a million different jobs or a million different paths you could take in life, but you're not going to be sitting there this is it. That's the one. But the thing you have to understand about human beings is human beings aren't we're not just focused only on one thing unidimensional. There are tons of things you like to do, and there's tons of things that make you happy. And this is why there are multiple routes that people can take, which means that there are multiple answers of what is right. The only people that are looking for the right answer is if you actually if you're literally sent by God. That might be a little bit different because you'll only have one route, right? But in most cases, we have lots of interests, lots of likes. Don't be afraid, because we have lots of things that we like to do and things that interest us. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to do it. Try it out. See what it's like. And I tell you one thing, a lot of things that have happened in my life is as you go for something, you realize that, this path is much better. And as you go, you'll kind of have these stepping stones that lead you to the place you want to be. But there's no such thing as there's 100% only one path for you. It's very, very rare to have that type of thing. All right. Thank you, Jesse. Let's turn to Ken in Taipei. Ooh, Taipei. I feel restricted when I work with people who do not plan long-term into the future, but I can't see that, but only setting up short-term goals. So what should I do? Okay. So, Ken, there's a couple things that you can do. You can actually, I completely understand, because when people have their goals are too short-term, they lose motivation very quickly. And they kind of once something's done, that short-term goal is done, they relax. And then we're wait, there's a much bigger project that's going on right now. And this is when people have to be educated. They literally have to be educated. You need to sit down with them and do goal setting. Do vision statement making, creating, right? Creating purposes. And you need to go through these things with them. And it's something that you should talk to them about. Because in the end, the worst thing that we can do is if we know that it's so much better to have long-term and to have vision and purpose, but we see people who don't have it, and we just look at them and say, these guys are terrible. Oh, I can't work with them. Then it's kind of on our fault too, because the reason why we're here is not only to just live our own lives, but we're here to impact and affect other people's lives too. And if you know it's better, you should talk to people about it. You really should. And if it doesn't work there, then you got multiple options after that, which is basically you can move teams, you can quit your job, or you can go to the boss and say, hey, we really need long-term planning, and make it something for the entire company or your school class. But it's something that people need to be educated. As long as they don't know, they're never going to do it. So they need someone to work with them step by step. Great question, by the way. Grace in Manila. Grace says, I can say that I am an impatient person and I tend to want to get things done as quickly as possible, but sometimes things really just don't work out as I wanted. How can I control myself from getting so discouraged about myself or about situations that don't work out as I wanted? Okay, this is something I talked about probably like a couple months ago. And the first thing that you have to think to yourself is, I'm not sure exactly what things you're talking about, but like say for instance, one of the advice I give to people when it comes to, like the last, who was the last guy? Was it Jesse? What was his name? Ken in Taipei. It's like, these people don't get it. They don't have long-term goals. They don't have this. One thing that as a human being you have to recognize about other human beings is you cannot control them and you cannot control the outcome. You just can't. That's something you have to realize. When you realize things like you can't control other people, and if you're doing a project and there's like multiple people in it, or if you're doing something by yourself, but your project or what you're doing is directly affected by other things around too. You can't control those things either. The one illusion that we have in our mind is that you're actually in control and you have to get rid of it. It's not so much you're impatient. That's not the issue. The issue is that you think it's literally going to happen the way you want. Where in life you're not the only one that is affecting the outcome. There are multiple reasons. Like for instance, you could do everything right to get a promotion, but you won't get it. You know why? Because it's coronavirus and the company shut down and everyone got fired. Can you control that? You can't. There are some things that are out of our control. One of the hardest parts and the thing that brings the most disappointment is actually what is your expectation. And a lot of times you have to lay down expectation. Because honestly, we actually don't even know what is the best way of doing it. We don't even know what the best outcome is. All we know is we can do our best with the experience, knowledge, and wisdom we have now and apply that, and it's the best that we can do at that moment. But it may not be what you expect, right? Last example I give to you, Grace, is imagine you just start playing basketball and you miss 9 out of 10 shots. That would be unreasonable expectation. I could have got, why didn't I get 9 out of 10? It's because you don't play basketball. Right? You got to practice, right? So that's so you have to kind of let down what you have to realize what you actually control. You don't control a lot, actually, if you think about it. There's some things that will work out and some things won't. But your expectation can't be, it has to be exactly the way I want, because that's assuming that you control all aspects of what is going on. And in reality, we don't. And that's the same thing I tell everyone when it's about people and relationships. The reason you're disappointed, because you actually think you can change people. And the answer is you can't. You can't have that expectation that you change people. No one can change people. People get advice and they choose whether they want or not. It's got nothing to do with your control. And once you let that down, you won't get disappointed in the situation because you understand that's their choice. All right, thank you so much. Last question for today from Grace LaGuardia. No. Mary Grace Arbasto. This also sounds like the Philippines, right? Mary Grace Arbasto. What a cool name. Mary Grace Arbasto. It sounds very spiritual. All right, here we go. I don't know what Arbasto means, but you can tell me later what Arbasto means, but I bet you it means something spiritual. Okay, people have the tendency to stop in the middle of keeping habits, although the goals and the vision set are clear. What to do to keep going? So remember, having a characteristic of vision is clear. Like you clearly know exactly what you want. However, the other things matter just as much as, is it compelling enough? Is it inspiring enough? Does it excite you enough to get you out of bed? Right? Is it enough? That's the thing, is it could be very clear, like, oh, I want to make, for me, it's like on YouTube, I want 1 million subscribers. Very, very clear. But it doesn't get me out of bed. Right? Like right now, I'm like under 400. Doesn't get me out of bed. Like, oh my gosh, only 999,700 right to go. It's, oh my gosh, I'm just discouraged. It's got to be compelling enough. Just like Muhammad Ali, how compelling was it? It was so compelling that he's willing to train, get punched in the face in boxing so that he can bring equality and freedom to his people. That inspired, that compelled, that gave him energy. And in the same way too, yes, there will be hiccups and bumps along the way, but remember, one of the ways you can see a real clear vision and a very inspiring vision is every time you read it, you're inspired. That's how big it is. That's how much you want it. Right? It can't just be clear as in, oh, I know exactly what I want. Remember, vision is big. You think to yourself, vision is heavyweight champion in boxing? That's not vision. If I were to think only in sports, just in the world of sports, a goal is to become heavyweight champion. Vision is to become the greatest boxer ever. That's vision, right? Goal is just become heavyweight champion. There were many heavyweight champions. Every year there's a heavyweight champion, right? You got to think, it's got to be that compelling. That every time you win, you want to win again because the greatest has to do this. The greatest has to do this. Okay, so think about it too. If it's clear, that's great, but go to the next step. Is it inspiring, compelling, energizing, inspiring? Is it motivating? All right, cool. Ooh, we have one more question from David Tanuwijaja. Is this real? This is real, right? Where is he from? David, where are you from? I can't see it on my screen. David Tanuwijaja. Okay. So the question is this from David, and you can, later you can answer that question. Just tell me, David, later where you're actually from. Okay. It says, how to live my life as I try to find my vision. What should I do because I don't have, I'm not motivated to do anything. Okay. So that's fine. Okay. So remember, you don't want to rush into a vision because it has to be something big. It has to be something you really, really want more than anything else. Okay? So that's number one. It has to be so big. Oh, you're from Indonesia. Cool. All right. So it has to be so big. It has to be something that's inspiring, compelling. But until you get to that point, what do? Of course, it doesn't mean you have to stop living your life. But the one thing you do know is there are certain things in life that no matter what, they will help you towards your vision. No matter what. No matter what. For instance, gaining skills, learning new skills, developing yourself, even money. A lot of times, because people don't have money, they can't get to where they want to go. Say, like, if I were you, I would start saving money. Save money, learn new skills, develop yourself. And these are things that, even if you don't have a vision yet, they're all leading towards something. Like when you're thinking about purpose, people say, oh, what about my purpose? What's the why? Why am I doing this vision? And a lot of times it's because people don't have the why. And like Muhammad Ali, what was his number one was faith. I'm created by God, and God made me on this earth to do this. And this is my vision that God has given me. And sometimes people have to study and research on what? Sometimes on spiritual things or faith things, or looking for the why. Why am I here? Why am I living? Why am I on this earth? And it's just as important. And as long as you're taking steps towards that goal, you're going to get there. Right? That's the most important part, is the process of getting there. You're going to eventually get there, but you have to consciously and deliberately do it. Okay? And when you do this, do things that are actually developing you as you're waiting along the way. Don't just do nothing. Money, always necessary. You got to live. Develop your skills. Develop your mind. Develop your spiritual side. All these things, start developing these things while you're on your way to find your vision and your purpose too. Okay? David, thank you so much from Indonesia. David, you got to tell me how to pronounce your last name, bro, because I just don't want to screw it up. Tanuwijaja. I'm hoping that's right, but just tell me if it's right or wrong. Okay, cool. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on Bubble Talk for the question and answer. I hope all of you have a wonderful, wonderful week until we meet again. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Sky. Make sure you click subscribe, obliterate that like button, leave some comments, and support us on Patreon. All right, catch you later.